we've shown that the 300 was a posting error of bank charges. But the issue of reconciliation, so that it doesn't become a recurrent issue, while we've done our part, can the committee help us to bring Machakos and Kiambu, and the senator for Machakos is here, to give us our money and agree that they should pay us, so that it doesn't recur, or the essence of this meeting, Chair, is to strengthen systems in counties and to help us do better. If we've not done the reconciliation properly, because we've done our part, you can guide us on how better to do it. Yeah, we've asked them to come. If they don't come, you have the power to summon them to sort out that issue. And I don't know how else we can do it, and you can guide us on how else to do it. Chair. We will stand guided.
I think we will take note of that, clerk. Take note of that. The Kiambu is yet to appear before us. Kiambu County on matters of water. So we'll take note of that and raise it with the Kiambu. Machakos also. Has Machakos appeared before us? Yeah. So I think we take note of that. But largely, as much as a committee can try and raise a matter when they appear before us, it still remains your responsibility to follow up.
And also to ensure we have written to them.
Yes.
Call them. When they don't do their part, what do we do?
Chair.
Senator Machakos.
The governor is raising an issue here, which actually, if you are unable to call Machakos here and Kiambu, you have a senator.
Yes.
Let him bring it to the House, and then we summon them through this committee. Because right now we can do nothing. You have not raised it to the committee officially.
Okay.
Now answer the questions that pertains to you now.
That's a good.
If you want count of Machakos, count of Kiambu, go through your senator. Let it be raised to the committee officially.
And I have a very able senator.
Thank you.
Chair,
idea,
there's a reason I'm laughing. If an ordinary person in Nairobi, if Nairobi Water had an issue with my account, Sifuna, they would not come here to ask for the Senate's help. They know what to do. They know what to do. This is what we call backpassing, Governor. These institutions, you have a way of bringing them to bear. I remember your dispute with Kenya Power. You didn't come to us to ask us for help.
Sorry.
You took certain measures that we are not very proud of as a leadership of Nairobi.
No.
But today you are appearing helpless, throwing yourself at the mercy of the Senate. I am sure, Governor, this matters because the queries are on your side. We need to resolve them and move. But I am sure you have ways and means.
So the senator for Nairobi is sitting next to the senator of Machakos.
Yeah.
Please help me.
What we will do...
Because I don't want to cut off water to Machakos, and I don't want to cut water from to Kiambu.
So you know exactly how to bring these people to the table.
For reconciliation.
That's the point that I was making.
When you do that, it's not the water company there that suffers, it's the people who suffer.
Yeah, you asked a question, Governor. If they don't respond, what are you supposed to do? You have the tools. But you are saying, we
try all diplomatic methods and PFM methods.
Please.
If those don't work,
please.
Then we try Nairobi methods.
Just try the Kenya Power way. You will be able to.
Senator Tropico, please put yourself on the record.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair. My name is Paris Tropico from Kajiado County, and I'm a member of this committee. Thank you.
Mark, and then we close.
Yeah, Chair, maybe on this one, just to comment that if the county perhaps or the South African took keen interest on the Section 31 of the certification process and responded to these issues during the exit and the ML, these issues would have been resolved then. For example, Chair, the letter requesting is dated February 16th. The audit concluded in December 18th. So, Chair, if that had been done then, maybe this would have been addressed at that time. So maybe it's a question of maybe taking action when the certificate has already been issued. Thank you, Chair.
Very well. I think we will leave it to your auditors to keep an eye on this issue and have it fully resolved. So you can proceed to the next issue.
Thank you, Chair. The next issue is on unsupported balances. The paragraph 2.2 on bulk water supplies.
Paragraph
2.2. Bulk water purchases of Kenya shillings 951 million, it's 69,402, supplied by the Water Works Development Agency from Karimeno 2 and Northern Collector Tunnel. However, a review of documents provided for audit revealed that there were no binding contracts between the agency and the Nairobi City Water and Sewerage Company Limited, and therefore the quality and quantity of water to be supplied could not be determined. Further, records provided for audit review revealed credit adjustments amounting to Kenya shillings for 3,529,770 that were not supported with approved journal entries, vouchers, and credit memos. In the circumstances, the accuracy and completeness of the bulk water purchases of Kenya shilling 951 million, 869,402 could not be confirmed.
Governor, your response.
Chair, this response, let me read what I responded first. Although the execution of bulk water supply is underway and the agreements that follow, the company is able to determine the quality and quantity of water supplied to Nairobi through the meter, which is read jointly by the company and the Water Works Development Agency. Further, the quality is tested and monitored at Kindiki station. We test it every 30 minutes to ensure compliance with quality standards, where we look at the composition of the water, the fluoride, whatnot. The adjustments arose from a difference in pricing structure. Chair, this is an ongoing issue that we have with the Water Works, because, Chair, I don't know if I should give the context now. Do I go on?
Proceed. I think it's important.
Yeah. Chair, it's important for the members and Nairobians to know, and Kenyans, Nairobi has no water source in Nairobi. Yeah? All our sources are from outside Nairobi. I'm glad one of my sources is here, Nyandarua. All these were developed. Kikuyu gives us 6,000 cubic meters. They developed in 1907 to 1910. Ruiru Dam gives us also water, developed in 1928. Sasumwa in Nyandarua gives us 60 million liters per day, developed in 1958, thereabout. Then the biggest, 84% previously, was Ndakaine, developed from 94 to 97. That gives us 84% of our water in Murang'a. These ones were developed by Nairobi City Council, if you call it that. When they were developed, and I'd love the auditors to hear me clearly, the water coming is a system. That includes dams, includes the piping, includes the treatment plant, and then the final connection to the people. Yeah. Now, the latest, because all of this gives us 525.6 million liters a day, yet Nairobi needs 970 million liters a day, with a demand growing at 4% every year. Yeah. So we pushed for the development of more water sources. Northern Collector that's mentioned here in Karimeno are some of those two that we're able to conclude, which add us another 140 million liters a day. And Karimeno is now at 25 to 30. Yeah. Now we are telling Adi Water, because they have developed that they cannot charge us 100%, because in the whole value chain, they're also using our infrastructure. Chairman, if you and I go right now for lunch at Kenchik and you want chicken, it is 300 bob. But me, I've come with my own chicken for them just to fry. We will not charge us the same. So we're saying that the value of our infrastructure in that water, because Northern Collector uses Ruiru Dam, it uses, Ndakaine, at least what they have is a treatment at Kigoro, but still part of our infrastructure that we paid for is used in that process to give us our water, you cannot charge us the same tariff as if we didn't use anything. We have used our own, you understand? We have used our own infrastructure to be part of that system. So that is why there is no contract yet, because I don't agree that you charge us 100%, yet you're using our own infrastructure to bring water to us. And remember, Northern Collector 2, Northern Collector 1 is a flood system. Cutting across Irati River and all those rivers in Murang'a, meaning it's only when it rises above the normal level of the river that the addition is what comes into our own system that was developed by Nairobi County. I don't know if you understand me so far.
Yeah,
that is the issue we're in.
Chair,
but in terms of quality and quantity, the meter shows.
Chair, point of order.
Okay, we have a point of order.
Yeah. Chair, we are really pressed for time. Governor, I think you agree with the auditor from what you're saying that we need contracts.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, that is the query. Please just let's restrict ourselves to the query. The query is there are no agreements to capture those things that you're saying. I've seen that you have attached a letter here under Annexure 9, a letter dated 31st July 2025. And actually, that letter also says the same thing that the auditor is saying. So what you needed to do in order for us to be able to be satisfied, you needed to demonstrate where these conversations are happening, because there is no annexure here to capture the conditions or the proposals that have come from your county government, including those ones of taking into account the infrastructure that we're using or that they are using. So where is that? Like, where can we see correspondence between your government or the entity, Nairobi City Water, and the authorities specifying what you want in the contract? I can see here the only issue that is raised in the letter dated 31st July to WASREB says, please note that we are unable to finalize the various bulk supply agreements until the issue of apportionment of water is resolved. That is the only issue that the water company is raising with WASREB. So maybe stick to this question of agreements. We need to be shown through documentation or correspondence what those terms you have put to the water company are in terms of documentation. You will know that I will always insist on documentation so that in the event another person is in that office, because we are not going to be in these offices forever, they can be able to follow up those conversations.
Chair, when answering, I have to give the context of why there is no agreement. And that's the context I have given. And now that you understand that issue, those issues are discussed at the meetings. The meetings have minutes. If you want us to provide minutes, we can provide. But even as recently as last week, even with the COG, we had a meeting with the Earthy Water. What was there? Not COG, Intergovernmental Technical IGTRC. The ongoing discussions. So we can bring the minutes of it, but it's important to give the context as to why we can't just have a straight contract based on quantity and whatever the meter shows. It's good to understand that, I think, and this is the best platform to explain. I hope the Senator for Nyandarua does.
Senator for Nyandarua, where water comes from?
Yes, I'd want to know, Governor, then. I've heard you. But assuming you've been supplied with 1 million cubic meters of water, at some point you do pay. On what basis do you pay? Do you just decide you are paying whatever amount? On what basis? That is the interest of this committee.
We've never had to pay because, as I'm explaining, all the water sources we have had have been developed by us. Even the land in Nyandarua we bought near to. It's just there. I have the title deed, but it's in your county. We don't pay Nyandarua. We do CSR, we help, but it's our asset. It is this new, and by the Senate, you need to help us, because there are a lot of provisions in this Water Act that are unconstitutional. What does it involve? Because even now, that Earthy Water Works Development Agency and such want to do, to become almost like water service providers. Yeah. So it's fresh, Senator, my friend. That discussion, we're saying, no, you can't charge us 100% on the tariff by WASREB, yet it's our infrastructure that is providing that water. And so it's an ongoing discussion. We need Senate to come strong on the Water Act, because even a lot of our staff are concerned, about the role of a county as provided for in the constitution. But just for the comfort of my colleague, we have been having discussions with the governor, Badilisha of Nyandarua, my brother Irungu Kangata, who's also a former senator like myself, about what more we can do. It's very unfair for the people at the source where the water is coming from not to have water also, you know. So there are things we're doing in Gatanga constituency. In Ngedu, if you go, for instance, in Gatundu North, we even have a city, this will be called city council schools, but now it's a county school, Ngedu Primary, that we fully support. In fact, I supported and the children there and things within the society. But in terms of how we are charged, it is only us that's trying to charge us now, which we're happy to do. So if you say in the whole value chain of the water coming through your system, our contribution is 60%, then you should only charge us 0.4 of that bill. That is the long and short of it, Chair. And I think the auditor can help us. Contribution to the entire system. I think that this is something that is it's novel in nature. It's a new discussion. But we would want
to Kajiado and EPZA. Do you have a contract with them?
Under Nairobi.
Senator Mudama?
Yeah, Chair, my question was, what is the challenge of giving the auditors the documents that they need so that they can reconcile their audit? And again, on this billing of contracts, I don't know if this question should come at this time, but because I'm stepping out, Chair, is that most of the places in Nairobi don't receive water, like where I live. And I receive billing every month, even when I've not received water from.
I want you to hold your horses, because we agreed in the pre-meeting that all those issues we'll deal with them when we are looking at non-revenue water.
But where do you live? You can give me your
okay. So let's wait for that. But honorable members, I think this query is not unique to Nairobi County. You saw when Mombasa appeared before us, we had the same challenge with the coast water. I think Kilifi, we also had the same challenge. I think for us to address this matter of counties and the regional water bodies, we will need to invite them. And I hope the clerk will pick this issue. We will need to invite Adi Water to come so that we look at these issues substantially. Because it's not just Nairobi Water that has a similar challenge. We have contractual issues between Mombasa and the coast water, coast water and the Kilifi County, and even Taita Taveta, and even Kwale. So these issues, and as the governor rightly said, there is something fundamentally wrong with the Water Act. There's something fundamentally wrong with the Water Act.
And Chair, I'd really implore upon you to support counties in their role.
Yeah.
Chair, a lot of these assets we're talking about were actually purchased land, contracts, even when there were loans we've paid for. Now, the national government suddenly realizes that they've done some investment. If you look at what the Northern Collector investment is vis-a-vis what we've done on by ourselves over the years, is only 25%. But if you do 25% and say, okay, now we've done this, we want to take over all your assets. We cannot allow that. And we hope the Senate stands then with the counties. And we should not allow that. Yeah. Chair, and I'm very happy that we've protected this. Imagine from 1907. to date, we have protected these assets of the people. We cannot reverse that those assets then go to be owned by national government because they have contributed with 6% only, the 140 million liters, yet the 525 that was coming originally to Nairobi was done by ourselves. So that's something I think you should take up urgently. It's not unique to Nairobi, but on the audit question, the basis for payment is a gazetted tariff. Nothing else. The contract, for instance, Senator Tobiko asked our contract with Kajiado or with EPZA, there's no need for contract there. The same way even for you, where you receive water in your house, there's no contract per se. You just have a bill and a meter and a gazetted tariff and you pay. Chair. So please take this up. County now. That's how we're able to do those 4 sources. I'll give an example. In Ngedu, we lose 30 million liters every day through the filtration system, the backwash filtration system. My engineers, who are the best, in terms of any water service company, have come up with a reverse backwash system that will not only help us save the 30 million, which is half of Sasumwa, but when it is raining, we'll get maybe 60 to 70 million liters a day. At just the cost of it, 2 or 3 billion. 3 billion shillings, you know? But for that, for us even just to get that, we want to give Kenyans and Nairobians this water, but there's certain hurdles in the law that are very unnecessary for agencies that are very viable. Chair. So I think this is a discussion we need to make bigger, possibly your committee plus the water committee, on how to strengthen these water service providers, because counties do have the capacity. If you look at Mombasa, what they can do, leave alone what's coming from Zima Springs, the amount of water going into the Indian Ocean, water gushing, that I would want the Senate to take up on behalf, and it's a legacy discussion, because it addresses the real fundamentals of devolution. Was devolution to strengthen these units or to weaken them? Because if the city council could do things that now our county government cannot do, then we've gotten something wrong. And that's what needs to be resolved.
Okay, so I think we'll leave it at that point. Clerk, you flag out this issue. From April, we'll be examining these matters, not just for Nairobi, but for all the other counties affected. So we can proceed to the next issue.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. The next issue is paragraph 4 on trade and other receivables. 4.1.
Paragraph 4.
4.1.
Okay, proceed.
Wrong outstanding trade and other receivables. And note 21 to the financial statements reflects gross trade receivables balance of Kenya shillings 9,704,571,162, out of which Kenya shillings 8,852,712,740, or 91% was outstanding for more than 120 days. However, management has not provided information on steps taken to recover the wrong outstanding receivables, and there is no evidence of demand notes issued to customers with wrong outstanding water bills. Further, review of the finance policy provided revealed that the Director of Financial Services and the strategy needs to update the board on steps taken to recover water debt. However, The reports have not been provided for audit. Thank you, Chair.
I think you can read 4.2 as well, which is related. And then the governor will respond to the two queries at once.
4.2, Honorable Chair, unmigrated receivables, the Gisombe system. Note 21 to the financial statements reflects gross trade receivables balance of Kenya shillings 9,704,571,62. Review of the debtors listing as at 30 June 2025 revealed receivables totaling Kenya shillings 3,902,250 arose from the unmigrated Gisombe system. The company lacked adequate data and information on the customers recorded on the Gisombe system, creating a significant risk of unrecoverable debts. Further, the company lacked adequate data on the Gisombe system receivables as the accounts were still being verified. Thank you.
Okay, so Governor, you can respond to the two queries.
Chair,
one at a time.
It is Gisombe, not Gisombe. It's important to say that so that people know the essence of the system is for citizens to read their own meters. It's Gisombe. Read for yourself. Yeah. And I'd like the auditor to give me his meter number so that I know whether Gisombe appear and whether he's receiving water. I would not. I'll make sure they always have water. But just on a serious note, so the company has taken steps to pursue defaulters, but there are some defaulters that are difficult to deal with. And Chair, I was just looking for a record that I have.
Maybe Governor, you can read out the response and then you give the explanation.
Okay, the company has taken proactive action. The detail on it. Pursue the defaulters by initiating legal process and escalating non-paying water service providers to the regulator, because the regulator then for intervention. For government debts, various demand notes have been issued. Other measures taken include disconnection, use of media campaigns, SMS messages. The Director of Financial Services and Strategy provides quarterly progress reports to the board, status of the trade receivables and actions taken. That is given to the board of Nairobi Water every quarter. I've annexed examples of demand letters in Annex 10A. I've also annexed our letter to WASREB, really focusing on Karuri, Water and Sanitation, Kiambu Water and Sewerage Company, and Githunguri, who owe us 547 million shillings, more than $500 million. And then the demand letters to government institutions that we've annexed. Chair, I can give an example. KDF, DOD owes us 199 million shillings. I don't think my meter readers can enter DOD and cut their water. Not only do they provide an essential service, but you find that their line is the same line that then out of DOD connects Nairobi Hospital and the Kenyatta Hospital. So when you cut off DOD, you also cut off critical infrastructure, including our own Bagathi Hospital. Yeah. But let's open this. So they owe us that amount, the Department of Defense. The police, interior, and these are police stations all across the city, owe us 119 million shillings for the water bills. DCI, 19.5 million. GSU, 20 million. State Department for Correction, the prisons, another 87 million shillings. You know how dire it is in the situation. The stadia 16 million, but also we're very lenient. For instance, when we had the football tournaments, etc., we allow them to use the water, then they pay a small amount, and it's really cut and mouse. And there are many other institutions, including here, Parliament. Please help us. You owe us 7.2 million shillings in the water bills. The State House, affordable housing, and WSPs. Primary schools, public primary schools, owe us, it's not in this list. Where is it? Public primary schools owe us so much money, but you can't deny the children water, you know. And so some of this 149 million shillings, you know, And these are different schools, around 215 schools in Nairobi. Now you can't cut them off, and we're being proactive. For some of them, even we're providing boreholes. But we want an engagement between yourselves and us on how the national government debt of more than $1 billion can be paid, because that would help the county be able to provide water to many more people. And so if the Senate, even through the conditional allocations etc., can find a way to make sure the government debt is sorted, is incorporated in our equitable share, then we pass it on to Nairobi Water. And I shouldn't say this, but even the city council, even the county government owes Nairobi Water, but it's our company. That's a small amount which I will ask the shareholders to waive, and the shareholders are myself and the two others. We shall ask them to waive that amount. But the Senate can come in and help these institutions, because if you cut off water, for instance, from the police or from hospitals, and I'm glad by the Kenyatta, I think they cleared their debt. Kenyatta Hospital cleared their debt. I should also talk about those who are doing well. There are certain government institutions that are doing very, very well in terms of sorting out. But help us with the parliament one, and then a conditional allocation to sort out this. It's for the benefit of Nairobians' share. Now, on the issue of Jisume, the number of accounts that are not migrated. Let me read the answer first that I gave. The company's current billing system is Basis 2, which did not incorporate inactive accounts during the migration. It only did the active accounts at that point. The Jisume system has 132 inactive accounts, totaling 3.9 million shillings, 2,250, which remained in the system for ease of recoverability and records. The Jisume system has all the customer information, including names, account, meter information, and meter readings, and how the figures were derived. And here we've attached the listing of those unmigrated 132 accounts in Annex number 11 of our response. Chair. I don't know if the MD wants to add anything to that.
Yeah, one of our biggest data, as His Excellency has said, it is more with the government institutions. Because at times now you need to make that decision. Do you connect Kiambu Water? What happens to the people that are in Kiambu? Do you disconnect Kidunguri? Those are our biggest challenges. At times we were really pushed to disconnect DOT with the Ministry of Water. But the governor said our main line that passes through DOT is the same line that serves the State House. So when you make that decision, now that is a catch-22 situation to us, but we've escalated to the Ministry of Water, and they are really trying to help us to see how these people are coming to pay us.
The Senate can actually help us, because you're the ones who divide revenue between two levels of government. And so you can add a small component, even if it is $500 million for us, then another half, to clear the old debt. Many of them are saying, if you clear the old one, we can pay. But primary schools will still be unable to pay. The capitation going to the primary schools, I don't see them. And they keep asking. Last week I was in Kawangware Primary, and they want that connection added. And I know, yes, we'll connect them, but they will not pay. So we need to be very pragmatic on how we sort out these very vulnerable institutions that require that service. And Chair, this is part of what you're saying is non-revenue water, because it is water that is built, it is water that is provided, but you cannot stop providing. It's a human right that needs to be paid. It's one of the human rights that you need to pay for, which is water. Air is free. Other things are not as expensive, but this one must be paid for, Chair. So if there are ways that you can assist us, if you have ideas, apart from what I've said in the conditional allocation in the Division DORA and CARA, County Allocation of Revenue Act, I don't know how else you can resolve that old debt that this is to show, and they continue to accumulate because we've not cut them off, Chair. So, for instance, if the National Assembly, in the budget they give the Department of Defense, just adds 200 million, they give them a budget of billions. Just add 200 for you to clear the water debt, add to the National Police Service an amount to clear their debt. Unfortunately, when you go to that level, it is now national. So there are other debts also in other counties. But yeah, your guidance will be important.
Let me start with the auditor. your comments on the response. The two responses.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. The annexures were provided for paragraph 4.1 on wrong outstanding and other receivables. However, the amount is still not yet cleared. Again, on unmigrated receivables.
Sorry, Chair, on that last one you're saying, however, the amount is not yet cleared.
It's not. It has not been paid as you have explained.
Yeah. Chair, maybe before you go to the next 4.2 on the migration, because the auditor is saying he understands our dilemma and the issue. But unless it's clear, this will also be an audit query next year. How do we make it stop being an audit query when these people have not paid? Because it is not an infraction on our side, and we've recommended how you can intervene. Because then again, be an audit query. I want next year to have an unqualified report. We now have qualified. We used to be adverse, but so long as they have not paid, now I am still getting a lower audit opinion for something that is not of my doing. Maybe advice from the auditor. How does this stop being a recurring question? Do we show steps towards recovery? Do we attach evidence of what can we do? And this is just really seeking your advice to make such an audit query stop being a recurring query in our books, Chair.
Maybe even as you, because I've seen you made some efforts, demand letters and all, but the most noticeable attempt you have made is a notice to disconnect customers. Maybe you can tell the committee what happened. Have you disconnected the Ministry of Defense? Have you disconnected? Because now the auditor will base on those efforts to make a decision.
And Chair, on top of that, as you also made an effort even maybe to meet with them, call the people who are concerned and meet with them, at least you show us there was a meeting and you also prove it to the Auditor General.
Chair, on meeting with them and raising it, even at my level, I have done that at the summit, which brings the county governments and the national government, chaired by the President. I have brought it up at IBEC. I brought it up with the President directly. And now that we have a cooperation agreement, on Monday, for instance, I'm chairing the committee with the PSs. The PS for water is going to be there. We'll have that as part of the agenda of what we need to resolve for Nairobi, because we have roads, water, etc. That also will come in. So I just want to know in what way can we then move this from being a recurring query that appears. That advice would be very important. We want to knock off these things. I want by next year we get a unqualified report. But in terms of raising it, maybe attaching minutes of summit would help. I don't know. Chair, please guide.
Chair, your comments?
Thank you, Honorable Chair. I think ours is to raise the exceptions. As far as recommendations are concerned, I think that rests with you, Honorable Chair.
Governor, I understand your situation. But these other entities or individuals who owe you money, you have attached their demand letters. I think we need to see some serious step being taken, maybe taking people to court or something like that. But for the public institution, particularly government institutions like ministries and all that, I think we have discussed with the clerk here, is one of the issues we are going to flag up for action in April.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
So that they should tell us how do they expect to be drinking water and they are not paying for it. So I think we are going to pick it up as one of the responsibilities of the Senate to protect devolution. So that we are going to pick it for as a committee. But the individual debtors, I think your entity should do more than they are doing.
Yeah. And if you just give MD a few seconds, because there's an engagement we've had also with Kiambu and Githunguri, which has now led them to start paying. I don't know, Martin.
Chair, we've taken some actions like Githunguri Water. We wrote to them and actually we went further to disconnect them. Atiwater came. Now what Atiwater is doing, they are paying for them the current dates. But the historical one, they are not paying. For Kiambu Water also now they are paying the current bills. So now the only challenge that we have is the element of historical. DOD also, we wrote to them. We tried doing some disconnection in some of their premises. Now we've seen some positivity in this current financial year. Now they are paying their debts.
So maybe I can find out from the auditor, especially Mark. Kiambu is yet to appear before us. I think they are appearing next week or a week after. I don't know whether there is a corresponding query in Githunguri and Kiambu Water on this matter.
Chair, that we'll be able to verify when we look at the report. I am not able to comment on that at the moment. Thank you, Chair.
So I think, please, clerk, just note that so that we raise it when they appear before us. Senator Amida?
Yes, Chair. Governor, I believe you need, or maybe you might be having the debt recovery strategy, because once you have that strategy, you need to know how to implement on it so that at least you address this growing receivables. But then now you may need to take advantage of the cooperation agreement with the national government. Then you need to raise it up with them on these services. And then I think I also realized the CS Water is part of the team, the steering in the team that's steering the
included. You know, we've never had such a chance, Chair, and I'm glad. So we'll report on it. I'm glad. So we'll report on that, and possibly maybe what the auditor would want would be then the minutes of correspondence that we can keep adding when there is that question. The same people who are telling us we must pay, they want to cut us off. So he said, yes, we must pay, but you pay us also. Chair, there's a discussion that you need to get in the Senate. You know, if we went to the health sector, you would have seen that KEMSA keep putting us number one, that we owe them 245 million. Yet NHIF owes us 800 million. And SHA owes us, and we tell them to Kata, give us change. You know, take it out there and give us the balance. You know, so it's a question of what comes before what.
Very well. I think this is a matter that is very weighty. And I think, Governor, as you rightly put it, you may need to take advantage of the cooperation to ensure that this is resolved. In fact, I noticed that the Prime Cabinet Secretary is it the chair or what?
No, he chairs the steering committee is really ceremonial policy. It meets once a quarter. The one I chair, the implementation, that meets twice a month, is the real, because the PSs are the ones with the money. CS is a broad policy, you know, no offense to my CSF, but the PSs and the chief officers are really the people, the accounting officers, you know, and that is a committee that I chair. And that is starting its meeting on Monday. Okay. And we'll be meeting, actually we've said for the first month we'll meet every week, get it moving, and then now we can go to fortnightly as provided for in that law. And so we'll sort out the issue of roads, the issue of water, this Maragofo that I want, the northern collector 2, the reverse system. Imagine you'd never have another platform like that. these PSs, you write a letter, it's responded to in 2 months or not responded to. But now every week I'm with you at City Hall, telling you where have we reached.
So, so that is a committee. That is a committee that we need to invite to appear before.
The implementation committee. Yeah.
So now what you need to do for us, is it possible for you to give us a breakdown of
Yes.
all those receivables?
Yes.
For government
institutions. Yeah.
Minus the schools.
Yes, we can do that, Chair.
Yes.
Yeah, because the MD has it. Please send it to the Senate even today.
Yes.
Or let's say Monday.
MD, how much time do you need to send it?
By Monday.
By Monday.
Yeah, by Monday you have it.
Please send it to the clerk, and the clerk, as I said, flag that as one of the issues to follow up. Okay, so
and Chair, I think if you allow me, can you allow also my health team to also send? Because, for instance, the Nairobi funeral home, anybody that is found out there by police is dumped at the funeral home, but they don't pay. We have from prisons, prisoners being brought to Magathi Hospital for treatment, and they don't pay, and they're not insured. So, can you just allow us to give the water and also the health institutions debts from national government?
I think for health, we question of the data.
And as disclosed in Note 27 to the financial statements, reflects customer deposits balance of Kenya shillings 1,309,078,313, which includes accrued interest of Kenya shillings 29,323,702, calculated at 3% per annum. However, it was not possible to verify the basis of the interest accrual, as the company did not provide evidence of investments or an interest-bearing account to support the reported accrued interest. Further, the actual customer deposits balance as at June 2025 could not be determined, since the company did not maintain a separate bank account designated for customer deposits. In the circumstances, the accuracy and completeness of customer deposits balance of Kenya shillings 1,309,078,313 could not be confirmed. Thank you, Chair.
Governor, the response?
Chair, the 3% interest was derived from legal notice on 23, Water Act 374, the City of Nairobi Water Supply Laws 1974 plus 36, 1 of the Water Act. Additionally, the company's finance policy plus 7.8 provides for the same. The law is categorical that money raised by water service providers are ring-fenced in the business for furtherance of the services, and is a practice the company has adopted. However, in closure of the services, the deposit is refunded as per the policy. I hope I'm answering the right query. Yes. Yeah. I put 2 annexes. One is the Water Act, 374. That's Annex 15A. So there's a legislation, the specific provision that guides us, as well as the clause 7.8 of the finance policy that also guides us.
Auditor, your comments on the response?
Yeah, thank you, Honorable Chair. Yeah, the company has provided the raw extract of 1974. Again, yeah, these funds have not. There is no evidence that the funds have been invested in any interest-bearing account. So the issue here is the source of this interest. Okay, the raw has been provided, yes, but the customer deposits have not been invested. Again, we have not seen a separate bank account where the deposits have been deposited.
Yeah, maybe Governor, before you come in, let me ask the legal officer to read for us the provision on customer deposit. What does it say about having a separate account for customer deposit? Is it mandatory in law?
I'm sure as I get the section, it would be, because you know the customer deposits in title belong to the customers. The deposit is made available to the service provider to guard against any damage to property, etc. And as His Excellency has indicated, upon the termination of the service relationship, it is owed back to the customer. Therefore, Chair, it's held in trust because it can't be used for other purposes and remain unavailable. And because it is held in trust, Chair, it should not be commingled with other finances of the company, so that as and when the relationship comes to an end, then that deposit is available to the customer. Chair, I believe that's why the Auditor General raised that issue. So, Chair, the legal title, the property belongs to the customer. The monies are in the possession of the water service provider. They are held in trust until such a time when the relationship comes to an end. The reason they are held in trust is twofold, Chair. Number one, to act as security against damage to any property or any obligations that the customer may have to the company. But the inverse of that is that the monies must be made available to the customer once the commercial relationship has come to an end, Chair.
Okay, let me give it to the governor first, and then I'll come to you, Senator.
Maybe allow me to give the MD to expound, because this money is always refunded. There's no case where it is not refunded. But we don't feel, first, there's no law that says it must sit on its own separately. Because also that would not be, you know, the parable of the servants who are given talents. The servant, the master gave one talent, another one 3, another one 5. The one who gave 1 said, I have hidden it because I know you're a very cruel master. And he was reprimanded. The second one also said the same. But the third one said, ameiongeza. So we use this money in operations, but we still have the capacity to refund. It's to improve services to the rest of Nairobians. Instead of, imagine just money sitting somewhere in an account doing nothing, yet we will not yet exhausted support. So the contractual obligation, or rather the legal obligation that we have on deposit, the same way even in your house, if you're renting, you pay the landlord a deposit. It doesn't mean the landlord does not use it, but the day you need it back, it has to be availed. I don't know if you want to expound on that.
Chair. Chair, before they answer, maybe I can ask a follow-up question so that they can answer all together. Even as the governor says that they don't have, gives the parable of the 3 men who are given these talents. If you go to the Bible, then we'll preach here because I'm a preacher. But I don't want to go that direction. What does the law say about using this money for customers' deposits if it's going to be used anywhere else apart from refunding to the customers, even if not borrowing? Because using is like just borrowing. What does the law say about that? Can you read us the law?
Okay, Digo.
Yeah, I think what the Honorable Senator is referring to is previously it had been taught that the use of these monies are governed by the provisions of the PFM relating to short-term borrowing. Chair, I don't think that's a correct legal position, because the short-term borrowing under the PFM relates to actual instruments that are short-term in nature. If you look at the definition of short-term borrowing under the PFM, that's why, Chair, I insist that these customer deposits, Chair, they would be subject to the laws that govern properties that are held in trust. Because, Chair, as I indicated, when the customer makes the security deposit, it is the purposes are twofold: to ensure that some sort of security is given to the service provider, to ensure that any damage to property will be able to be compensated at the end of that commercial relationship. But on the other hand, inversely, Chair, it is the right of the customer at the end of the commercial relationship to have the monies given back to them. Chair, where I don't agree is that these monies may be used for purposes that are not, that there's a carte blanche on what the money can be used for. Chair, that's why the committee has been insisting in other instances that there must be an internal policy on, number one, if the monies are deducted from the accounts for customer deposits, then under what circumstances are they paid back and what can they be used for, Chair? Because, Chair, remember I've indicated to you that these monies belong to the customers. They are held in trust to ensure that should there be damage to any equipment that are owed to the WSP, then they're able to be hived off before the monies are made available at the end of the commercial relationship, Chair.
And Chair, that is why we should hear what the law says as we move forward.
I think she has summarized.
Yeah.
She has summarized.
Yeah.
She is a very competent lawyer. She knows
Yes.
all the laws in her head. She
So,
has
Chair,
summarized all that.
I don't mean to interrupt. And then what we need to interrogate is what is the board policy on dealing with these customer deposits?
Yeah, I think that's what she's referring to. The board policy on customer deposits. Anyway, let's listen to.
Lucy is my friend. She was my legal person when I was chairing committees in this house, and she's very smart. Chair, our finance policy is attached. It talks about the refunding the customer. Chair, this is Nairobi Water, our account. Yeah, this is our collections inside there. Yeah, this is customer deposit. If I drink, which one am I drunk? If I drink our collections or the deposit? So long as there is always be a refund of that deposit on demand, and you've not had any complaint that the refund has not been done, the company must continue to execute its mandate. If you look at section 131 of the Act, it says all monies collected, and that's possibly one of the only provisions that are direct on it, must be used for the furtherance of the company's objectives. So provided for the fact that we will always refund. In fact, we have been refunding with interest. It's just that this year we want to stop the interest story that we've been refunding with. Is that true? That's how we've been doing it. The company must continue to achieve its objective. So in the law, there's a letter, of the law. But what is the spirit? The spirit and the existence. The reason why we have this company is to provide water services. The same way your landlord does not necessarily put your deposit into a special account that just sits. But the day you move out, the money that he was keeping for you in trust, not even really in trust, in case you damage something in the house, or in case you damage our water meters, etc., must be refunded, and we have always refunded. Chair, I have not seen any complaint with respect to that, unless people are disputing the amounts where there's been damage. But that is our policy in our finance policy. We've attached it, and as well as in we've said what the Water Act says. I think it is section. There's 131 which is general. 131 just 131 of the Water Act talks about monies collected. It says that all funds collected for water services by the licensed water service providers holding county or national public assets on behalf of the public through water services bills and other sources shall be used entirely for the purpose of covering costs for the provision of water services and asset development according to regulations made by the regulatory board. So, Chair, I don't know how else to explain. When you go to the bank, Chair, maybe you have, I know you're very rich, because I know you're becoming a governor. Your money for Osoti is not in a box. No, your money as Osoti, in cooperative bank here, there is no box written Osoti. But this is your money. Those Masai went to an ATM, removed, let me not say the community, withdrew 50,000, then went inside and told the teller, if I find my money on the road again, mutaniona. There is no specific where your money is.
Point of order. Point of order, Chair.
I withdraw.
And Senator
He has withdrawn.
Chair, because I'm stepping out, Governor, there is no water in Riverside and bills are coming every time.
You're in my office.
So kindly check about that.
Yeah. But you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The commitment is that when you need it, it is given back to you. But there is no specific like shelf in COP with saying Tobiko. Or your money is used by the bank. People borrow your money. The bank will use it for its operations, etc. But the contractual agreement or the legal commitment, what needs to be done is that it recovers any damages done, that amount. So you just have a statement that yes, we have your 20,000 shillings whenever you need it. But there's no law prohibiting the use of that money, Chair. So I understand the letter of the law as Lucy has read out Radoli, but the spirit of why water service providers collect money is to further the objectives of the company. That is my opinion, Chair.
Yeah. So Senator Tobiko.
Chair.
And Chair, for the record, Sakaja is a Maasai, like originally I'm a Maasai.
No,
Even grandfather, even my CC here.
Chair, I wasn't even getting into that. Chair, I wasn't going into that because I believe that's on a light touch. Chair, I wanted to follow on the customer deposits. Really, we can't let the governor get away with this one because the amount first involved is quite substantial. It over $1 billion. That's if I saw it well. And the legal person has explained you cannot commingle these funds with other funds. At any one time, we should be able to know that the customer deposits are secure. It's okay. It can be used to generate income, more income, and I think that is why they've been able to pay interest. But there must be a way that this money is seen that it's secure, it's available, whether it's earning interest, that the better. But we cannot just say because the customers' money is here and the institutions, the water companies' money is here, you can't tell which is which. Chair, on this one, the county must show us with no uncertain terms that these funds are secure and they're available and there is a structured manner that they are dealing with those monies.
Senator Mbugu.
Chair, and I want the legal to listen here. You know, the governor has cornered us with this registration of 1974. First of all, if I want to tell this committee whether it is still valid, because it is referring to the council. And Governor, you have also said that you want now to be paying with the deposit without the interest. But this document is saying when you are refunding, it will be with interest. Will you amend this rule of 1974 or what will happen? But first of all, I want to know, is it still a valid rule?
Chair, remember that all legal obligations that arose or were on the part of the defunct local authorities, that county governments are the legal successors in law. So the legal obligations that arise, any provisions that are applicable, continue to apply. The government didn't stop, the running of the country didn't stop in 2010 and then reset. Even at the national government, there are laws that were passed in 1997 that still apply to the current administration and require the discharge of these functions. Secondly, Chair, remember that the position has been with respect to how we deal with the security deposits, that there must be an indication whether by a board policy or a certain law that is passed by the county governments to dictate how we deal with these security deposits. And in the annexures that have been provided by the county government, Chair, there's a board policy, Finance Services Policy, July 2021, Nairobi City Water and Sewerage Company, The security deposits paragraph 7.8 provides that all contracted customers must pay a refundable security deposit. Deposits from customers are recognized when received. A simple interest on the deposit is accrued at a 3% per annum. Upon de-enrollment, the security deposit is refunded inclusive of the interest. So, Chair, for purposes of our discussion today, as I've indicated before, these security deposits, the legal title to them, let me put it that way, is that these are refundable. It's a refundable asset that belongs to the customer, that at the point of the termination of the commercial relationship, which is referred to in this policy as upon the enrollment, the security deposit is refunded, inclusive of the interest. Chair, the other component of this security deposit is that, as I've indicated, it is a financial safeguard for the service provider against potential loss that arises from damage to property. So it serves those two bases. So perhaps what the committee has been trying to communicate, not just to this particular county, but to the rest, is number one, is there a policy that dictates how these customer deposits are dealt with? But Chair, we must be clear to His Excellency that the customer deposits are an asset that are refundable to the customer. So as Senator Tobiko is observing, they can't be dealt with in a manner that does not take into account whether they are safe or not, including, Chair, to be honest with you, in trust law, that when monies are held in trust for you, the obligations that arise are fiduciary in nature, that how they are dealt with is in a manner that they will not be eroded. So I think that's what the committee is looking for, those assurances from the county government. Thank you, Chair.
I think she has dealt with the matter very conclusively. And
Chair, the assurance of the safety of the money is in the refunding. And that has not been an issue. We always refund when that relationship ends. And that is in our policy, which has been read out. Chair, if the Senate wants this money to be kept aside in a special account, in a box somewhere, you can legislate. For now, there is no law that speaks to it specifically. And so the lack of that legal provision is not something that we're taking advantage of. We're not using that money to do the wrong thing, or to do something not related to our mandate. But it is being used even for the benefit of that customer. Keeping it safe doesn't mean just putting it in a box and locking it. Keeping it safe is making sure the company is in a financial status to be able to refund you when you need your money, Chair. Chair, number two, the age of the law doesn't negate its viability. Today, Traffic Act we use is commenced on the 11th of November 1953, the Traffic Act. And on a light note, that is the same act that gives power to only 3 people to stop traffic in Nairobi: the police, ambulance emergency services, or cattle herders. That law is clear. Only, in fact, that's why I say when you see people herding cattle, the law has allowed them to stop traffic and to divert traffic. Now, until that law changes, because of the origin of Nairobi, you know where Nairobi came from and what it means, and our community owns it, and that's why that law applies to date. Until you amend it, you cannot charge that cattle herder with obstruction, because that law of 1953 still applies. It has not been repealed. So when this law of 1974 still applies, it has not been repealed. We're just, and I like how Lucy has put it, we are the legal successor of the former councils. So, Chair, now when you legislate, people legislate to cure mischief, or there must be an intention to legislate. Yeah. So if you want to legislate around those deposits, is it in the interest of the citizen or the county, where there has not been any threat of that money having been misused? because we always refund. It's in our policy to refund, plus with interest. It's just me who's saying that I don't think we should add that, and the company is thinking about whether the interest is, because it assumes that you've put it in just a special account that is growing, which as a Sakaja box, the trust that I have with the bank as a Sakaja box, the trust that I have with the bank is the day I need it, the day I go to an ATM, the day I write a check, that money will be available. That money must always be available, and has always been available, and that is our policy, Chair. So it's up to you to legislate as Parliament.
Honorable members, I think there is no clarity in law on the issue of having a separate bank account for customer deposits. What we have is just some guidelines from WASREM saying that we need a separate account. So this is an opportunity for us to amend the Water Act to make it very specific that customer deposit should be in a separate account. So I think we leave it at that point. And the auditor, I hope you get that. This is an advice from our legal counsel that the Water Act is not very specific on the issue of a separate account. So we can only amend it to say that. And WASREB only issues directives, guidelines, which are not specifically supported by Water Act. So we leave it at that point. Honorable members, let's proceed to the next query.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Chair. The next query is query number 10 on non-disclosure of material uncertainty related to going concern. The statement of changes in equity reflects a loss of Kenya shillings 236,496,853 and prior year adjustment of Kenya shillings 118,101,768, which decreased the revenue reserves from a negative balance of Kenya shillings 3 billion. To 91,513 and 5 as at that June 2024. To a negative balance of Kenya shillings 3,646,000,000. On 11,645 as at that June 2025. Further, the company's current liabilities balance of Kenya shillings 7 billion $199,336,525 exceeded current assets balance of Kenya shillings 4,726,176,551, resulting to a negative working capital of Kenya shillings 2,473,159,974. The material uncertainty relating to going concern was not disclosed in the financial statements. The company is therefore technically insolvent and may not be able to meet its current obligations as and when they fall due. Thank you, Chair.
Governor, your response?
Let me read what is here. Although I've just seen something I don't agree with. But that's all matter. The company is operating on a tariff that was approved in 2023, which I agree with. We have requested for tariff indexation, and we're engaging WASRIP for a new tariff that is responsive to the existing conditions at any given time, which will improve working capital and liquidity position. The company is not technically insolvent as reported. If all assets operated by the company are transferred to the company, it will improve the financial position of the company. Chair, the part I don't agree with, which you can amend my response since I'm here. The holders, Joe Akech, the mayor that time, I think Mbugu actually, the town clerk, and then the county. Today, the shareholders of Nairobi Water are 3 people. The shareholders of Nairobi Water is Sakaja Johnson, the governor of Nairobi, Maureen Jerry, the CEC of Green Nairobi, and the county secretary holding it in trust. And when that changes, so imagine putting all these assets in that private company's ownership, you'll be putting them at risk. So the assets remain with the county government that owns the company. And of course, my shares are to hold in trust because at the registrar, you need to have natural persons as directors, yeah, and shareholders. And so on paper, if you look at the books on paper, the assertion by the Auditor General is correct. But in actual sense, it is not correct. It's just that we have not, and we will not transfer assets to the company that will put those assets at risk in case of debt recovery and such things. I hope I'm a bit clear. So, maybe you think based on this? No, it is safer. And remember, counties are corporate entities. That's the difference between county governments and the national government. In the national government, the only corporate or executive entity is the CEC, the Cabinet Secretary of the National Treasury. That's why all national government assets, the title deeds etc., are held by the CS National Treasury. The national government is not a corporate entity, but the county government itself is a corporate entity. That's why the governor is a CEO and he comes here. But the president does not go to National Assembly because he's not a CEO, he's not a corporate entity. I hope you understand. So you'd rather hold your assets within the larger corporate entity and use your service providing company just to utilize the assets, but don't transfer them because of the risk that you might have, Chair. So I agree with the Auditor General in terms of the analysis of the situation, but I'm just giving context that it is not really the fact of it. If I was just to value, for instance, the land in Kabete that we own, or how many 100 acres in Tasumo, the 1,000 acres in Ruai, where we have our sewer company, our water treatment. If I just use those 3, I've not even gone to Sasumwa or the offices in Kampala Road in industrial area, just that. Then if I were to value that and put it in our books, the company would look extremely profitable. Yeah. But I will not do that just for. So if there's an accounting way, I'm not an accountant, but if there's a way to recognize them but not transfer them to show the status. In fact, many people, including the CMA, have come to us saying, why don't you list this company on the stock exchange? Because if you list it, the potential for people to buy shares, if it was an IPO on Nairobi Water, many people would buy shares because it's a service that is needed. People will pay for it. Our collections have gone up. Chair brought up the collections to 12.68 billion. Chair, this is more than 30 counties combined in terms of revenue. The revenue of Nairobi Water is more than 30 counties combined. But you see, I must protect its assets as a steward of the county of Nairobi.
Okay, I hear you, Governor. I think what the auditor has raised, he has not gone into the substance of material uncertainty. He has simply said that it was not reported in the statement, that there was no disclosure in the statement, that there is negative working capital. So maybe, auditor, you can respond to that, and then I open the floor to the members. Auditor, your comments on
Yes, Chair. You put it rightly, Chair, that there's negative working capital. And in working capital, we're looking at the current assets minus the current liabilities. So, Chair, we're not looking at all the assets, including the fixed assets, as the governor is indicating, the land and all that. Those are fixed assets. But the working capital is negative at 2.4 billion. That's a fact as it is, Chair.
the current assets includes the receivables that we are talking about.
Correct, Chair.
Yeah, so it is, they are referring to negative working capital. So they didn't go into the insolvency. So, Senator Mbogwa?
In that case, I agree. There's no need to debate it.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chair. Now that the governor has addressed the issue of assets with the indulgence, Chair, maybe you'd give the governor the opportunity to respond to the issues of the statement which was brought to this committee about what is alleged to be massive loss of assets of Nairobi Waters, so that maybe he can respond and we can handle this.
Look, that statement was brought by Senator Cherargei, and he's not here. He's gone to the funeral. And because we are constrained of time, members, I wish to suggest that the document, since it was referred to this committee by the Speaker, we allow the county to respond to it through written responses later. Because if we go into this, then we will not be able to finish our work today. And you know, we have alcoholic still waiting for us. So let me just direct that, yes, we have received it, but they will respond to it through written responses. Since even the questioner is not here, he's attending a funeral.
Yeah, I've just seen the statements, and I think it's something that we can respond to in writing.
Yeah, and again, we need to give justice to the county because they need to have time to digest this statement.
Chair.
Senator,
I'm saying I'm just hoping the governor will come up with the financial restructuring strategies for the implementation to improve the liquidity, and I'm hoping that one is in place. Otherwise, of course, he will still have the same issues.
Yeah. Part of the problem is like transferred liabilities from the council. For instance, the pension debt, which we had been considering, it's around 2.4 or 3 billion. If you sort that out just alone, balances it out. But that was transferred. Remember, the workers, when we formed Nairobi Water Company, the workers moved from the department, that time it was a department in the city council, to this newly formed company. And they moved with those liabilities. So the transferred liabilities are also an issue, but I agree with Senator Hamida that restructuring for the purpose of our records be done on the current assets and current liabilities. A lot of it is what we are owed, which you have committed that you're going to assist us with. And how we solve the issue of is it lap trust debt? Which one is it? Lap trust, yeah. The lap trust debt. We were going to, in fact, I had passed in my executive committee for the company to go get a debt. To borrow. And it was going to the assembly, but I withdrew it because when I looked at the interest on that debt, and I had something coming up which was still about to conclude, where the national government is swapping because of the money we found that they owe us, with account to land in Garrison, etc. That has been done by the Supreme Court. I felt it would be more profitable for us to just have that settled by the national government as a debt swap, because they owe us 68 billion shillings. So they'll be able to cover the 2.4. So it's something that is ongoing in terms of just restructuring and getting the best deal for the city. The interest on that loan would have been too high, but I also feel the pain of the pensioners who really want this expedited and done fast. And I know that is not a question today. I don't know if it's a question. It's not a question today, but that is the situation. So I agree with the auditor on how the books look like and the numbers look like. Let's work on that restructuring, so that by the time we're coming back, it is clear on these current assets versus current liabilities, the steps we've taken to recover the decision.
Okay, very well. I think the easiest route is to just work on the receivables, and then the negative working capital will disappear. Yeah, and I think we had said that we will come in as a committee to help you. So, honorable members, we move on to the next query.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. The next query is on the next section of the report on lawfulness and effectiveness in use of public resources. Paragraph number 2, wrong outstanding trade and other payables. The statement of financial position, and as disclosed in note 29 to the financial statements, reflects trade and other payables balance of Kenya shillings 5,858,016,648. However, included in the balance are trade and other payables and wrong outstanding audit fee balances of Kenya shillings 4,385,877,249 and Kenya shillings 21,316,980, which had been outstanding for more than 180 days and over 6 years, respectively. Failure to settle bills in the year to which they relate adversely affects the implementation of the subsequent year's budgeted programs, as the pending bills form a first charge to that year's budget provision. This was contrary to Section 53, Subsection 8 of the Public Procurement and Asset Disposal Act 2015, which provides that an accounting officer shall not commence any procurement proceedings until satisfied that sufficient funds to meet the obligations of the resulting contracts are reflected in approved budget estimates. In the circumstances, the company is not able to meet its short-term obligations as and when they fall due, and is exposed to loss of funds as a result of fines and interest. Thank you.
Very well, Governor, your response.
As observed, Chair, the company payables stood at 5.858,016,648,000, which is really due to a low tariff, which is not cost recovery. Chair, the tariff of Nairobi water is the lowest in the country, and we keep engaging WASREP for approval, at least at the minimum, of a cost recovery tariff, and we would need assistance, because for as long as we do not have that, this cannot change. I don't know if the MD would create more context, but that's really the position we're in. Our tariff does not really even address the cost of giving you that water. Yes, it's a service, but it doesn't even cover it to break even.
Okay. Chair, as the Governor said, our current tariff in terms of the cost recovery stands at around 90%. And for you to be able to operate viable, you need to recover your cost recovery by 100%. However, we requested for the new tariff, and as we speak now, we've gotten a tariff that is going to enable us recover all our costs 100%.
Auditor, your comments on the response?
Thank you, Chair. I agree that if they are able to get a new tariff, hopefully maybe the position may improve and settle the debts.
Okay. Although from what we discussed on the receivables, I don't think tariff is the only issue. I think if all the receivables were recovered, because the receivables were coming to 8.8 million, and this is 5.8. I think it will balance it off.
Yes, Chair. It will balance it off as a one-off. But then even as you go on without the tariff, you will still now start lagging behind again until it accumulates. But yeah, I agree with you. Really, if you can help us with that, with those receivables, especially from government institutions. We're still in discussions. I know the MD said we've gotten the tariff. I still don't like that tariff because one of the things we're incorporating in the tariff is what we call a conservancy fee. Conservancy fee is something I saw growing up in this city, where when you paid for water, you had also paid for garbage, and you'd paid for that collection. Chair, one of the biggest challenges we have in the city is solid waste management because of the costing of it. And even as we're doing a partnership with the national government, for instance, the end-to-end solution that we're doing is 6 billion shillings. That 6 billion shillings, the county government is paying for, the national will be supporting by 2. I know some people think, the impression has been created that the national government is coming to collect trash in Nairobi. That is not the case. They are adding just 2 or so billion to the 6 billion cost. Now, how do you get it? How do you recoup this? Before in Nairobi, if you paid 500 shillings, 50 bob, or around 10% of it would actually go to general waste management, and then ultimately you'd be given even a bin, written NCC, etc. Kisumu has been given that conservancy fee. They have it. But WASREP looks hesitant to giving Nairobi a conservancy fee. Yet this is the capital that requires cleaning, because you have the manpower. We have hired young people, 4,500. Now they're even on permanent pensionable. There's equipment which we bought and continue to purchase. And even with the contract we're entering into today, there'll be much more, the refuse compactors, etc. But if you only depend on our exchequer, share the day that equitable share delays, which it always does, you'll have the young people having collected the garbage, but you'll have your vehicles grounded because I will have to pay salaries before I pay fuel, And so that is why within this tariff, we want to include something that makes this Green Nairobi also have working capital to keep moving, because it's a logistical exercise. So Ikiumana will come to you to help us talk to WASREP, because it is something that has been done. It's been done in other counties, but Nairobi has not been given, and even Nairobi has the lowest tariff. So the one which the company might be comfortable with, I think, is still too low. We need to come even at par with other cities like Mombasa and Nakuru.
Chair, through the chair. Thank you, because you have said the status is at around 90%. But I'm concerned, Your Excellency, on the time frame. When are you perceiving that at this point, then we could be implementing the new tariff, and this will now help the company to pick up, and then the stability will come in?
Yeah, that tariff that already has been agreed on, which is not the best, it's not the one I really want, but it still does cost recovery, is effective from 1st of April. It has already been gazetted. It will be effective from 1st of next month. But even then, I'm still pursuing that inclusion of this other conservancy fee etc. that we're talking about, even in the next tariff review. But this one that covers the cost recovery is will start the 1st of next month. It has been gazetted, Senator.
Any more comments? Okay, if there is no any more question or comment, let's proceed to the next query.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. The next query is on paragraph 3.3 on stalled projects. A review of the project implementation group or matrix for projects undertaken in the financial year ended 30th June 2025 revealed that several projects worth Kenya shillings 851,734,987 had surpassed their completion dates and had stalled. Management did not provide explanation for the delays or stalling. Failure to complete projects within the agreed timelines poses a risk of cost escalations, wastage of public resources, and denies the public the intended benefits and services. This was contrary to Section 151 2 of the Public Procurement and Asset Disposal Act 2015, which provides that the contract implementation team shall be responsible for monitoring the performance of the contractor to ensure that all delivery or performance obligations are met or appropriate action taken by the procuring entity in the event of obligations not being met, and ensure that there is right quality and within the time frame where required.
Thank you. Governor, your response?
Thank you, Chair. The incomplete or stalled projects are due to various reasons. If you look at Annex 22 that we have attached, there are 14 those projects, and some have different issues. Some is accessing where you live. For instance, the Quarry Road sewer works, 37.8. Because there's been encroachment of an informal market. However, this related to only 180 meter of a lateral line. The rest were done, taken over by the employer, and have been in use, greatly improving sanitation of quarries. So I've just listed all of these projects and the reason why we have a challenge. I'll give you an example, Lenana, which is required, and which is my alma mater. I would really want it done, the extension, but the problem was it took so long to acquire the Kenya Railways operation permit. The way live has had encroachment. I made a promise last week when I was there around the area. So we have an existing contractor working on a lifeline which frequently overflows, and I asked them really to expedite, because Chair, you know, we built a new primary school. That was one of the wards in Nairobi without a primary school. There are 14 wards in Nairobi without a primary school, without any public school. And from the time we built it today, it is the second most populated school with 6,000 students in the city. This is a project that is really needed for us to conclude on MD. Other issues with KFS, Wanyaga, water supply. We said the contractor, the amount, but there was a delay with the issuance of KFS and WRA permits. In advance weather conditions during that period. The EOT was issued, but the contractor did not resume execution of works. So in many of these also we find problems with contractors where we have to terminate contracts and reissue those contracts, and the tender, the procurement process then starts. So Chair, maybe I can just leave it at that because of time, but I've listed each and every one of them and the reason for stalling.
Okay, members, the stalled projects are in Annex 22 and I think Annex 23. So, Auditor, your comments on that response?
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Yeah, the support for the justification has been provided. The Annex 2 is also provided. However, these projects are still not completed.
So maybe, Governor, you can tell the committee these contractor issues. Is it because the procurement of the same is not very competitive? What is the reason? Because I see two projects have zero progress, and some of them are running as far as 2014.
I'll ask the finance director. Procurement. The director of procurement, not here. Maybe MD, you can answer that one on his behalf, kindly, Chair.
Thanks, Chair. Some of the delayed project, as the governor said, is in terms of us getting clearance from the way lives, it has been a big issue for us. In terms of us also getting clearance from other road bodies like Kera and Kura, it has been an issue. At times you wait almost
about the contractors, the answer contractors, terminate.
Yeah.
Issues.
For the contractors, we've initiated the discussion, and in some they have already received in place, but in others, what we've done is we've initiated the termination of those contracts. But in terms of the procurement, our procurement processes are very competitive. Everything that we do through an open tender.
Chair, some of these contractors need to be blacklisted, and I think there needs to be a repository of contractors who are wasting public funds. Because somebody comes, raises a first certificate, they get paid and they disappear. Then you find they have gone to Bungoma County. They're doing another project. They paid one. They disappear. They go to Nakuru. I think there must be a repository of all these people who are criminals, because they are wasting public resources. By the time you retender, you procure again, even some of the work done then becomes lost. And so we'll want you to help us with that. We shall give you a list. And it's not just Nairobi Water, even at the executive. There's so many that we've had to, where it is not occasioned by a delay as pay. Some of these people, they come with the documentation, they show they have the financial capacity, you award them the work, they start and they just stop. And you find it's because they've taken up, some entrepreneurs really, they've taken up so much other work elsewhere that what you pay them, they use it on another project elsewhere. I don't know how we can ring-fence that in the Public Procurement and Disposal Act. I would want the guidance of the Senate on that.
Yeah, I think that's a very important observation about contractors who are all over, and they're just doing their projects partially and running around. So, Senator Topiko.
Oh, Chair. These issues of contractors and not just counties, but even the national government and pending bills is a huge monster that we as a nation, we may really want to look for ways of handling it, because there are contractors who are crying that the various governments, be it counties and national, are not paying them. We've seen in the media, some of them are committing suicide, others have died out of pressure, out of stress. And you can now hear that governments are also crying that contractors are not, keeping their part of the bargain. They're not doing the jobs that were given to them. So, yes, I agree with the governor that we need to follow on those groups. But it's also good that our governments all do pay those good ones. It's very important so that those who are obedient in their work are paid promptly and they can serve the country. And of course, those who are mischievous can also be handled in a specific way. Governor, actually there are those who come to us. It's only that sometimes it's difficult to know how to reach you. True, Governor, there are those who are coming to us and saying Nairobi government owes me over 300 million. Actually, there was one in the legal field who came to me and said, would you be able to help me reach the governor of Nairobi? Nairobi is owing me this much. So, Governor, if you're reachable, we'll bring those good ones to you so that you pay them. And then we deal with the crooks. Thank you.
Yeah, Chair, there's been a historic challenge with pending bills and lack of payment. In the last Senate, where I sat and served here, I brought a legislation together with Senator Faria, the prompt payment law that would surcharge procuring entities. Now, as a governor, I'm glad it didn't pass, because it is extremely difficult when Exchequer does not come, promptly as well, or collections suffer. Chair, I'm glad and I'm proud of it that I found 109 billion pending in Nairobi. I've reduced it already to 80. Yeah. Imagine from 109 billion to 80 billion in a matter of 3 years, that reduction. Chair, I believe that you must pay suppliers. When I was a member of parliament, I brought the law, the amendment to the Public Procurement Disposal Act that asks for 30% preference and reservations to youth, women, and persons with disability. That was my amendment. Chair, if you see how they have suffered, because they get that job, they get a load, and then they are not paid because many of them are not able to induce whatever, You have cases of suicide. They're better off if you didn't even give them the job in the first place, Chair. And so on that, I'm 100% in agreement with Senator Tobiko. I know we've had issues with lawyers and their claims. I found them at 21 billion. Imagine the debt of lawyers in Nairobi was 21 billion. We had to sit down and talk to them. Now it has come down to less than 10 billion, just by reassessing those fee notes. But 10 billion is close to my entire own source revenue of 13.8 billion. If I was to pay these debts, there's nothing else we'd do but only pay debt. So there must be also, and I know there's a case that was filed in Nakuru about legal officers. What I did, Chair, we had 40 new lawyers in Nairobi County, boosted our litigation department, got advocates who would, good time post-admission experience, so that we outsource very little work. And I'd written to SRC asking them to allow me to pay these advocates a bit better, close to what they would get in a top-tier law firm, because what I would save by having them is much more than the debts. Imagine there's a lawyer who came.
Repatriation is a state obligation, not a personal
because they
burden.
represented Nairobi in a case, a contractor, an activist took us to court for doing renovation of Uhuru Park. So when an activist takes us to court for renovating Uhuru Park, the lawyer is charging us based on the value of Uhuru Park, as if we were selling the park. Yeah, and the problem with the lawyers is that they set the remuneration order in Parliament done by themselves. And you find that what they would charge a private entity, I don't think there's any lawyer who's ever charged Safaricom $1 billion or Kenya Airways. But what they charge public entities is criminal. It is wrong. Yeah, I feed 300,000 children every day in Nairobi, 326,000 children at 5 shillings. The entire cost is 1.4 billion. Should I feed 326,000 children or one lawyer? The cost to build a stadium, the Dandora Stadium, is 275 million. Should I build Dandora Stadium, a new stadium in Kawangware or Riruta, or pay Senator Peris's friend who wants legal fees? And these lawyers, you'll pay them, but they've not built anything. You can't see anything. One NG cannot say, "Oh, you two-term because I'm a lipa mawakili." But you see, they will say because of something they have seen, they're getting water, and so there's that. Yes, they have done work, but there must be a balance. I think a conversation must be had in this country about professional services and what they charge public entities. Because, they get to service level agreements, etc. But what I've done, and actually just hiring those lawyers, has saved me so far maybe every year around 1 billion. Just hiring them. And their cost is not even 200 million in total, And so I'm building a state law office or a county law office, just like the office of the Attorney General. The office of the county attorney in Nairobi is now the best resourced in the country, with more than 50 advocates. We had 40, but already there were those there. Every department today has legal advice. You find somebody taking us to court for adding house rent from 10,000 to 17,000, then the lawyer is charging you 60 million. Surely. There's no value. There's no value there because they're charging the value of the house. So that's an ongoing discussion.
Well, you are lucky that Senator Ugenda is no longer a member of this house.
Let's not go even there.
Well, Senator
Bunge, there's a warrant of arrest some of my people.
Yes, Chair, Governor, yes, I see this report and it's a bit worrying. And I think, Chair, maybe we can request the county government to add another quorum. Yes, we can see the contract sum, the project progress, but we should also have a quorum of what has been paid, maybe in terms of an advance payment, so that when we are retreating to do a proper report lighting, we can capture that. But also I'm interested in knowing when you get a contract like this company which got a contract of 107 million, he has not done nothing. He has done nothing. Do you ask for a performance guarantee?
Yes.
Because there is a recourse for you.
Yes.
Because you've suffered and you should get something from them. So maybe you should tell us what maybe the county has gained.
MD, take that.
Chair, in terms of our contract, we don't make any advance payment. Any payment is based on what the contractor has done or the certificate that has been presented. In terms of the bank guarantee, yes, we've initiated discussions with the various contractors who are unable to deliver, and now we'll be able to recover that money from the bank.
The point he has raised, which MD through the governor you needed to advise the committee, is on this schedule. You indicate how much has been paid so far.
Yeah, we can
You can provide that. After how long, MD?
By Monday, we'll be able to provide the information.
Okay, you can send it to the clerk. So, honorable members, we proceed to the next query.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. The next query is on paragraph 4 on staff costs, paragraph 4.2 on non-remittance of retirement benefits. The statement of profit or loss and other comprehensive income, and as disclosed in note 10 to the financial statements, reflects staff costs amount of Kenya shillings 6,965,000,434,787, which further includes an amount of Kenya shillings 770,758,128 relating to retirement benefits in respect to National Social Security Fund, Provident Fund, Pension Fund, and Gratuity. No evidence was provided to show that the amounts were remitted to the respective schemes. This was contrary to Section 19(4) of the Employment Act 2007, which provides that an employer who deducts an amount from an employee's remuneration in accordance with subsection 1A, F, G, and H should pay the amount so deducted in accordance with the time period and other requirements specified in the rule. Thank you.
Governor, your response?
This one, sit out so I'll read what I responded.
Yeah, you can.
But this is the finance and the MD. The company strives to ensure that it pays all its statutory obligations within the set timelines. All pension payments for NSSF, Madison, and Lab Trust are up to date. The problem is Lab Fund in arrears for 5 months. Then gratuity, of course, is only a provision paid on the anniversary of the contract. Chair, I think the finance director and the MD should tell us why is in arrears.
MD?
Chair, in terms of Lab Fund, by the time of audit, yes, we're in arrears for 5 months. But where we are currently, we've paid the 2 months. Now we're in arrears for 3 months. And the reason why we are in these arrears at times is the cash flow constraints. As we mentioned earlier, the tariff that you are given, we are not able to recover our cost 100%. We're only doing at 90%. So at times we are having the issue of cash flow constraints, but however, we are committed to make sure that all the pending arrears we are able to clear it by the end of this financial year.
So how much do you owe? How much do you owe Lab Fund?
On a monthly basis, we pay around 20 million. So now in terms of arrears is around 60 million.
And the other one, Lab Trust?
Lab Trust, we are not in arrears.
The figures before the committee are...
The 2.4 billion. That is what the historical.
Yeah, historical.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
that's the one I was explaining, Chair, that I hesitated to take a loan to pay that debt. Yeah. It is the one that was carried over when the staff moved from the Nairobi City Council then to Nairobi Water Company, and we're finding a more cost-effective way of resolving that, Chair.
Now, this committee has done an inquiry around the issue of pension, outstanding pension, and there was a task force that was constituted by the CS for Treasury, courtesy of this committee. But we are unable to proceed, Governor, because the task force says they did an input from Mombasa and Nairobi, which they are not getting on the options that they have suggested.
No, that is not true. Chair, I sat with this committee at Treasury.
Yeah.
And I even gave them advice on, you see, some of the rates are defined by the law. You have 2 types of schemes. You have DB and DC. DB is a defined benefit scheme, which are all closed, which is Lab Trust. but you have defined contribution scheme. And we were able to reduce, in terms of the formula, the debt owed significantly. In fact, like right now, Nairobi County has zero debt to LAP fund, but only the percentage. So in that committee, if they tell you, I actually guided them on how to calculate the actual deficit, because you don't do the actual deficit and the interest at the same time when addressing counties. And they were able now to give us a new percentage. Well, I think who was the finance team is not here. So I engaged them, and this is also my background. I understand how to get that done, and they were able to actually reduce it. Maybe Mombasa has not gone, but I was there. I joined them at the CS's boardroom. The meeting was chaired by one Albert Mwenda from Treasury, and in fact I spotted the errors that they had, because you see the problem was that the proposal was being done by their own consultants, and as a presenter I told them, no, that is not how you calculate the interest accrued and the actual deficit owed by institutions on a DC scheme, on a defined contributory scheme. So the task force should be able to report back to this house and to review what is owed by different entities, Chair.
Chair.
Yes.
For the arrears, for the 3 months, how much are the penalties accrued?
Based on, we had a discussion with the LAP fund, and based on the goodwill, they are not charging us any penalties. We are just paying what we owe them.
Chair, and that amount is not much. I'll ask that we just sort it out next week. Find 60 is not too much. Yeah, you have it. You committed to pay in 3 months. If there's an agreement to pay, but you see, you pay, but you pay the debt plus the current. Payments away. So that's good. That's what we've agreed with the LAP fund. No penalties. Yeah. And I really want to thank the LAP fund. They have been very good partners for us and for our staff.
Okay, I think the issue of the historical debts, that is being handled separately.
Yes,
we will. I think in April we are going to invite the task force to appear before us, and we may need the assistance of Nairobi and Mombasa County to finalize that process, because they have come up with several measures which they are recommending, which we need to discuss. One is they are saying that they can do asset swapping. They are also talking about coming up with a repayment plan, which is supported by COB. They are also saying that they can, which is a controversial one, they may engage the national government to come up with a bond to deal with that. Then counties can pay. So that is a discussion which we will need your maximum input.
Chair, and I spoke to them too. You see, even this, for instance, Lab Trust. Lab Trust began in Nairobi County, where the owners of Lab Trust. It started in 1929, with our council. It was for senior employees. Many of them were the Europeans. LAP Fund then was an offshoot because they felt they don't want to sit with now when Africans were coming into government from 1960. I've sat with them and I've shown them how you can be able, first of all, to cover the current issues. That one has no excuse. We can blame past administrations for not having done their part, but currently we must always be on time. That's why I've thrown it back to this team. But what we have been against, Chair, for Nairobi, we're not going to do asset swaps. Chair, one of the biggest problems we have was the Mariakani swap that was done by previous administrations, where even value has not been derived. Many of these ones, they become undervalued. And so we agreed to do joint venture projects where the county also gets value on top of the payment of their debt. But you can't just give away your property or your land, because two things. One, there's a ratio that this retirement benefit organizations must maintain on liquidity, assets versus cash. But number two, the value of those assets, always the county will get eroded. It will always be eroded to the counties, but there are creative ways through which to pay them, including if you allowed us to securitize some revenue. There are certain revenue streams that are so consistent, like parking or land rates, that if a portion of it then is securitized, you'll sort out all county debts in a year or two. Another way to look at it for us, specifically as Nairobi, was that swap of debt, not of assets, from the 68 billion owed to us as determined by the Supreme Court, by the national government. And because they have those resources. You see the difference between a county and national government, which is how you're partnering. The county is constrained. I have 20 billion from the Senate, 13.8 from collection. What I need to do for Nairobians, I must find a way to squeeze it there. But the national government says, what do you want to do for Kenyans? I have a manifesto. So you cost first what you want to do, then how much you collect in taxes, and the rest you finance the deficit through borrowing. Counties are not being allowed to do it. And you see, that is why, unless a county like Nairobi partners with them, will not be able to go ahead. So I'd be very happy to refresh that engagement with that committee. I will reach out to Albert. Because I think our last engagement was quite useful, and I will reach out to Mombasa on behalf of the Senate and informally to ask also my friend, the CEC Finance was there. Yeah, the CEC Finance was here in Parliament. He was my clerk called Owanda Evans, and we work very closely. And so if both of us go there, because we're the biggest culprits in terms of how much you owe these provident funds and retirement schemes, we should be able to solve it for posterity. It's not a problem we caused, but we're the ones who can finish it. And I think that would be a good legacy for us too.
Okay. So, honorable members, I think we have two bits. This query is about the current, which we have agreed, but we also have the historical, which is not in this query, but we are dealing with it separately. So let's proceed to the next query. Is it non-revenue water?
Yes, Chair. Paragraph number 5, unaccounted for non-revenue water. During the year under review, the company produced a total of 215,292,106 cubic meters of water. However, only 108,383,164 cubic meters were billed to customers. The unbilled volume of 106,908,942 cubic meters, representing 50% of the total water produced, with a sale value of Kenya shillings 11,961,024,350 at an average price of Kenya shillings 111.88 cubic meters per cubic meter, constitutes non-revenue water. This level of non-revenue water is significantly above the allowable limit of 25% provided in Schedule A of the Water Services Regulatory Board or SREB guidelines. Consequently, the company exceeded the allowable loss by 26%, equivalent to approximately Kenya shillings 8,566,579,601. This high level of NRW undermines the company's profitability and threatens its long-term financial sustainability. In the circumstances, the company possibly lost an estimated amount of Kenya shillings 11,961,024,350 or 50% non-revenue water. Thank you.
Yes, Governor, I can see your response is too long. We have it in our files. Maybe you can try and summarize.
Yeah,
its response.
Allow me to summarize, Chair. Non-revenue water is the biggest challenge of any water service provider. There are two types of non-revenue. There's the revenue losses. There's commercial and
physical.
The physical. Chair, we have very old infrastructure, which we have to keep improving on, where we have leakages, especially, for instance, where we are here today. The infrastructure here was done in 1947. Actually, no, 1936, thereabout, because that is when we had done OP, The judiciary, which was put up in 1930, City Hall built in 1935. Imagine that infrastructure has never been changed. So you have a lot of mechanical losses based on leakages across. I know the allowable limit is 25%, but there are different interventions that then sort it out. Chair, for instance, when we removed offtakes from Kiambu and Githunguri, we reduced it immediately, instantly by 3%, just by cutting the offtakes from Kiambu and Githunguri. We have areas, for instance, Langata had never been receiving water. Yeah. And in December, I went and launched now their water through another route, through Karen. Because my good people in Kibra, where the line was going through, had punctured holes in the line going to Langata. We concretized it, but still they went through it. So it's theft of water. We've worked with water police. There was a lady on Airport North Road where I went to. Her place looks like a kiosk, but when you enter, there is a ladder going down. She had 16 pumps, 16 from our main line on Airport North Road. And those 16, she's supplying apartments. In fact, this lady, she should be written about because she's supplying water and electricity. She's Kenya Power and Nairobi Water. But outside, you think she's selling mandazi. And so you have a lot of these people who have infiltrated physically the line. The solution is use of technology. Yeah. Now, the use of technology works once we have, I'll give you an example of the SCADA system. You see the SCADA system that we put into these pipes will be able to tell us where there are these infiltrations. But it only works when your pipe has water up to a certain level. Because when you see the pipe is cylindrical, if the water is below half, then that SCADA also measures, it's measuring air. So a lot of that doesn't help you. But when it's above that, and that is what we're doing with now the new water sources. Remember, there's a deficit of around 220, thereabout, isn't it? Million liters of water. So we're putting smart bulk meters, area metering, or rather regional metering, ultrasonic flow meters for these other water service providers. And so dealing with that mechanical aspect. And some of it is Okora. The areas, Chair, that you'd find a whole section. I don't know whether I should mention this one specifically because, for instance, the areas within the CBD that were never being built because somebody was collecting that money from there. You can imagine the entire university way. These are serious buildings. So also some of it is criminal, and we'd want the agencies involved to look into it. And I'm glad the team we have now, really led by the board chairman and the MD, are looking at those aspects. I'm chair on the commercial. So chair, there's asset management, removing illegal water connections, but ultimately the use of technology is what is going to help us. Chair, once it is implemented, I'll be able to look at my phone and get an alert as the governor telling me in Githurai there's been an interference with your line. And it shows exactly where it is for people to go. Now, for that to be done, there are these two projects that I said earlier that we're pursuing in terms of Maragua 4, which is part of what we're getting through the cooperation agreement, and the Ngedo. So we'll have enough water to deploy that technology. But the one for meters, smart meters, is ongoing. How many have been done so far, MD?
We've done almost 1,000 smart.
MD, use the mic for.
Yeah, in CPD, we've done almost 1,000 in terms of the smart meters. And also in CPD, there's a tender that has been awarded by the national government. We are replacing all the network pipes within the CPD area. And when you look at the non-revenue that is being reported in CPD, is around 52%. So by us redoing that network, we'll be able to reduce non-revenue completely to around the desired level of 25%.
So Chair, this financial year, there's a budget for replacing the aged pipeline in the CPD, which includes Kaloleni. Ziwani is one of the oldest estates. It still has that old network. Maringo, Isili, then Ngara and Parklands, Roysambu, Zimmerman, and Githurai 44, and Loy Mbakasi. And because of now the lack of those resources and the lack of the ability for us to borrow commercially as we should, we've staggered it between this past financial year 24-25 up until 28-29. If we got support to do it faster, we'll be able to have done it faster. So that's on technical, bulk metering and edged infrastructure and asset mapping. On commercial, it is really the illegal connections. And you see, we have to keep working with them. For instance, the Kibra team, those who take our water and now sell it to an NG. You know, sometimes you say, if you can't beat them, you join them. I told my team, sit with them, make them your suppliers. Let us agree on a cost or what, because they buy water from us at, or rather there's 50 cents and sell at 20 shillings to the end user. The end user just wants water. The same with power. Power is being removed in informal settlements. I told them, the Mwananchi is suffering and you're not getting money. Make those thieves your suppliers. Reduce for them a tariff, give them in bulk, and give them the proper materials, because the reason we have a fire every day, 3 fires in Nairobi, is because of those illegal connections. So that is what we're doing in terms of the technical losses and the commercial losses. Business re-engineering, creation of monitoring units, etc., and smart metering. So, Chair, the support we would need from the Senate really is helping it help make it easier for subnational governments to borrow. Why should we? The amount of money we'll save by doing these projects, for instance, in one financial year, is more than what we are losing by staggering a project until the financial year 28-29. Chair. So I don't know. Is there anything to add on revenue? Yes, that's my chief officer.
Yeah, Chair. We want to appreciate the report that has indicated that that was read does allow only up to 25%. But we also want just to bring to your attention that these tariffs are normally negotiated. And every now and then when a tariff is issued, non-revenue is considered. I will wish to, yes. And Chair, if you look at the tariff that you've been given right now, the allowable non-revenue is actually at 47%.
Up to?
Is at 47% by WASREB. So we are trying to move that from 47 downwards to around 30.
Yeah, but even I don't like it. Though that's what is allowable, I think we can reduce it. If you look at who is the best in the region, is it Kampala?
Yeah,
no, region. Think a big one. Kenya, Uganda.
Nyeriwata is the one that is doing well at
Nyeri is best, 18%.
Yeah.
Kampala is 25. Some of these ones are held by their terrain. You know, because it's healing, they have very little technical losses. Another loss was because of our success. When we added 140 million liters per day, people in Karen were getting water and they have never had a proper, they had no meters. We had to do a crash program to actually provide meters because they were using boreholes. They have never had water ever. There are areas, and at least for you, Mihango, Sun Valley, Langata, where I was in December, Royal Park, the wider Ngei Park 2, Utawala, Ruai, I was there the other day. So they're like, for the first time, they're getting water. But see, we couldn't deny them water before we've installed the meters. And so that is work we're really trying to work hard to do faster because they're willing to pay. The other day I was in the PS said, please, I feel so bad as a government employee. In my house in Karen, I'm getting water, but I have no meter. I'm not paying, but we are receiving it. Please expedite. And I called the MD to go sort him out. So part of it is also being victims of success. So in as much as the allowable is 47%, which is, I don't know, they just guessed county 47 and give us 47%, we need to reduce it to around 30. I believe. Of course, there are certain areas where we have to give water for free. In some of the informal settlements, if you're not able to do that, we'll have cholera issues, we'll have health problems that then cost us still as a county much more in provision of those health services. So sometimes it's a service you have to. And remember, the aim of the company is not to make profit; it's to serve all Nairobians. This is a service that you're giving. Every money we get, remember, we're not plowing back to shareholders. Every money we get is reinvested in increasing the network, in supporting and expanding this network. So Where we need more support, we will come back to you. But we've seen reduction based on just removing, and it's cat and mouse. You will remove the illegal ones, case of the water pipeline. So now it has gone down because the water to Langata is coming by gravity from all the way from Mudiru coming through where is it, Kabete to Dagoreti, now Karen by gravity to Langata. So the line from Kibra is restricted now to sort out that area. Langata people, and Langata has had water problem since I was a child. I remember. Langata was known for not having water. But today ask them, and they will tell you they have never seen it. In fact, they think it's a lie. It will stop. It will not stop. We're going to make it better, and we keep improving it. So, Chair, allow me to leave it there for non-revenue. I'm glad to engage the members and also the auditor on it, because this one will always be a query.
Okay, Auditor, your comments on the response from the county?
I think, Honorable Chair, I think for us is to wait and see the effect of the measures in the next financial audit.
My issue, Governor, is, as you rightly say, the losses are both commercial and physical. There are queries that auditor has raised on the billing. Okay. There are issues of active accounts having zero bill, and the issue of active accounts having to be estimated, bill being estimated. This I believe it has some correlation with the non-revenue water. Maybe you can explain.
There is, and you know, I wish to an extent the enforcement power of the water service company be enhanced, even by having sometimes armed officers. I don't want to describe vividly what happens when my officers are chased by dogs, you know, when they go to read meters. So, you know, when they can't access property, then you have to estimate based on usage. But smart meter will resolve that, because we'll be able to see from where we are. We don't have to come physically to read your meter. You know, it's digital. We can see it from our end. You know, so maybe MD you can expand on that. And I hope you've never been chased.
But those are the scenarios, Chair, we keep on encountering. However, what we are doing is we are leveraging on technology. We are buying the smart meters so that those customers who are unable to open for us the gates, we are able to install the smart meters. In terms of those customers that are having zero consumption, we are doing a lot of analysis. We've invested in what we call the business intelligence system. And one of the discoveries we've noted is our customers keep on removing those meters. When there's the time for them to get water at night, they disconnect those meters so that the water is flowing directly to their tank. So when you go to read the meter, you realize that there was no meter movement. So what we've done to that is we've procured the meter seals. We want to seal those meters so that any tampering, we realize that the customer has tampered with those meters, we are able to now tell them that, we'll have concrete evidence that the meter has been tampered with.
But yeah, we would need amendments of the law, even the penal code, to make it so expensive to interfere with such infrastructure. Because people can't just, how do you disconnect a meter and get away with it? You know? And you see, there's some categories of my people who have come to understand. Some only pay when you catch them. And see, until they are caught, they will never pay you. But removing is government property. It should be seen as economic sabotage. Disconnecting a meter when water is coming and then reconnecting it. Of course, the technology will help us because we'll get those alerts. But it must be, I think, the penal code, or I don't know which law you can help us. Lucy, you can guide us, that the fine or the cost of, I can do one in the county assembly, but I want the statute, which is more, the hierarchy of laws, it is higher, to actually make it criminal offense to interfere with the public infrastructure that is providing a service like water.
There was a bill, maybe Lucy you can advise. There was a bill in National Assembly, critical infrastructure bill. How far is it?
Chair, maybe I can check on its status because it wasn't in our house, it was in the other house.
Check, because I think that's a bill that can address that, and not just water, even other services like electricity,
our street lights are always being vandalized.
ICT,
Yes.
all that. So, members, the floor is yours on non-revenue water. Senator Tobiko.
Chair, I like the raft of measures that the governor has proposed that they are going to undertake, and I believe they will pay off. But, Chair, what has impressed me most is the fact that the governor admits, that there are both physical and commercial losses. Most of the times, when we are here with majority of the governors, they are always insisting on infrastructural losses. The physical losses, and not admitting that there are commercial losses that they can address. Majority of them are always on the physical losses. And so, Governor, I listened to you and I said, you could be one very honest governor. And so if you deal with the issue of the billing, I'm sure there will be a lot of improvements in Nairobi. I don't know whether the staff of Nairobi county government have changed from that old mentality of city council. Majority of us have lived in this town for quite a while. I came to Nairobi when I was age 18. I've never gone back. Apart from having a home in Kajiado, but I basically live in Nairobi. You would understand sometimes why Nairobians set dogs on these people, because they will come. When they see your bill is high, they will tell you, tutafute shortcut, nipe kitu kiasi hivi, and then after that we'll write off your bill. And you pay because you want the water not to be disconnected. But later on, the same bill will resurface, now even bigger. And so people get very frustrated. But nowadays I see as if things have really improved. I don't know whether maybe it's a side of town that now I live on. Because one time when I was in Buruburu, I used to feel very bad about those Nairobi council, county council then. So, Chair, maybe if your staff are educated on how to handle the clients, and the billing improves, there'll be progress.
Senator Mbogo.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Governor, this issue of active customer accounts with zero billing, you give that you are touching Annex 29. The same was not provided to the auditors for them to peruse. Maybe, I know it cannot be perused then, but maybe you can organize for the auditors to have it so that they can analyze and maybe advise us.
Yes, sir. I'll do that. In volume 2. I don't know if you have the second volume.
We have it, but the auditors are reporting they didn't receive it.
We'll liaise with the auditors just for them to find out how comes they didn't receive it. But Chair, respond to Senator Perez Tobiko, thank you so much for your very kind words. I have to be honest, because now if I don't say what is true, we help no one. I must say, look, there's a situation that we find ourselves in as a city. You must admit what is working and what may not be, and say this is the help I require to sort it out, because it's our city, all of us, and we want it to be in a better position. Chair, culture change is difficult. Culture change is very difficult. When you lead an organization, Chair, I lead a workforce in the county government of 19,000, and in the water service company, 3,000. People from different backgrounds. Some are born again, some are not. Some are different religions, different motivations. And so what helps an organization is when you bring in systems that transcend the subjective human interaction. And so how you operate will not be subject to how you are brought up, or your character, your flaws. And so a lot of technology is helping us. For instance, today, if any Nairobi water person comes, and we're moving this also to the city county enforcement officers, if you dial *260#, there's jitambulishe, and you'll be able to know who it is, where they're supposed to be, because you'd find people masquerading who are not supposed to be in that department, coming around in areas that are not their zones to extort. So today, since they know that they'll be identified and they'll be held to account, because you can even put the link. So of course you'll come and you check and say, okay, this staff is called Sakaja. He is in this Langata region. But to confirm, because somebody can create a card with my name, you press the link, you will even see the face of the person. And you will verify that this is that actual person. That alone has reduced how people are behaving. Of course, building the teams and meeting them. And I personally have met these meter readers, to encourage them. Helping them get even like a bonus from performing well, is something that I really am pushing for. So that also you reward, don't just punish bad behavior, but reward also good behavior and positive behavior. We've separated certain aspects. For instance, billing is separated from revenue and monitoring. Because when it's the same person who is billing you, who's also in charge of the revenue and monitoring, then that is when they can tell you, let me fix for you. And Nairobians should know, there is no person who can come see you at your property who can change your bill in the system. It is not possible. Is it possible?
It's possible.
It is not possible. So I think we need to do more public campaigns. I like how Kenya Power has been doing it recently. If you look at the ads, where they say, tumekuja kuwashika. You have seen that ad. So MD and your comms guys, you need to do more of that so that people can tell that you will not cut deals with a meter reader who comes to you. That one is a technical person who comes to look at it. The billing is different and the monitoring. But it's a work in progress. There have been improvements in how, we tell them now the customer is our focus, relentless. In fact, we call it obsession with the customer. It's one of the values that we're drilling in, and not just in Nairobi Water, in our hospitals, etc., as part of our principles. So, Chair, we'll keep doing that, but we admit we have those commercial losses, which, if sorted out, we'll be able to go down below the 47%. Because infrastructure is just physical. If you do it, you refresh it. Finally, I can give an example of the improvements that we are doing based on this cooperation agreement. Chair, we're doing a 54-kilometer line on Siwa from along Nairobi River. 27 kilometers on one side, 27 kilometers on the other side. That will cover the demand for Nairobi for another 50 years. People have been saying, we're seeing all these buildings coming up in the city. Do we have the sufficient amenities? Yes, I can say we do. Because all that is left now is lateral connections to this trunk Siwa, So that is what's happening on the Siwa side. Remember, Siwa is 75% thereabout of the water that you're adding. And those plans for water are there. I think it's a good opportunity and platform to also inform Nairobians on what exactly we're doing looking into the future. Chair.
But Chair, there is this, is it that USSD something for parking, that's never working. My car has been twice found around Parliament area, and you charge a penalty. And before the 15 minutes elapsed, I tried to use that to pay and couldn't. I tried again, couldn't. So, and I always see your figure is going up, so I owe you for parking, but it doesn't go through.
Yeah, we had sometimes some challenges, not just on being able to pay, but on wrong querying. You're told that you owe, yet you left your car at home, because we were doing manual querying where somebody, your car can be KBB, but they write KBP, and it goes to charge somebody else. So now what we're incorporating is just a photo that links to the NTSA database. And so it's really just improving that the system. we're working hard on with our service provider. Remember, we moved, and Senate advised me to move from trying to own the system to serve software as a service. And so in part of our service level agreement, if they do not reach a certain level of consistency, we'll just move to a different provider. So I'm sorry about that. We can talk about your bill later.
Honorable members, I think the measures the governor has provided for reducing non-revenue water, they seem very, very reasonable. But governor, now action is more important. Here to action those measures so that the non-revenue water goes down. Now my legal officer is advising on the issue of what can be done to those people who are interfering with your system. I think the Water Act provides for that under Section 145, read together with 147. It has a set of offenses and penalties for those who tamper with the water meters and water installation. So I think your officers needs to look at that and enforce that Section 145 and 147.
Yeah, you know, if you look at what has been provided, the Water Act points to WASREB regulations. Tampering, the penalty is 5,000. 5,000 both. You know, and you've tampered so that you evade a bill of 20,000 shillings. Or, you know, it is not commensurate. The MD is just opening it. We want more stringent, more strict penalties on tampering that public structure. So we'll go and look at that critical infrastructure law.
Okay. Maybe let me allow Lucy to read out.
Chair, under Section 145, a person shall not A, willfully obstruct, molest, or hinder any inspector or employee of a person authorized by the CS, the authority, the regulatory board, a county government executive, or a licensee in the exercise or performance of his or her powers under the Act. And additionally, under B, without the written permission of the authority, regulatory board, or the county government executive, knowingly or willfully deface, alter, or remove, or cause to be defaced, altered, or removed any document, survey mark, water gauge, weir, or measuring device, or other work structure, or approval installed with the approval of the authority, regulatory board, or county government. A person who contravenes the provisions of this section commits an offense, and the general penalty is that a person who commits an offense for which no other penalty is prescribed shall be liable to a fine not exceeding 1 million shillings, or to imprisonment for a term not exceeding 2 years, or to both such fine and imprisonment. And Chair, under 145, what makes the offenses unique is that under 146, that this a criminal suit would be able to be maintained by either the authority, the regulatory board, or a county government or a licensee.
Well,
that penalty of 1 million is where there is no description of the actual, unless I'm not reading it right. It is not here. But now it has been specifically provided under WASREB, which is so low in the tariff. Yeah, I can read for you. Illegal water connection, commercial, industry, and construction. This is page 2 of the gazetted tariff. 100,000 plus estimated consumption during the period of illegality. You imagine a big industry. You know, the industries take most of our water. East Africa breweries, for instance, EABL, out of the 525 million liters of water a day, they consume 100 million liters of water per day. More than close to a fifth of all the water that comes to Nairobi. And many industries are of that quantity. So when you charge them 100,000, in fact, you might find someone with an illegal connection whose work of the illegal connection is to fill water bowsers to go sell. 100,000 is easy to pay. You know, illegal water connection domestic is 30,000. Overcharging at the water kiosk 15,000. The surcharge for tampering with meters. This includes meter removal, reversing of meter etc. is 5,000 shillings. That is what is provided for. So you see, if it's been specifically provided, I don't know how you can help us to go to the 1 million one. I'd want it.
Yeah, Chair, through you, remember that what WASREB is doing is pursuant to a power that has been donated by the Principal Act.
Yeah.
And therefore, the provisions of the Principal Act prevail over any delegated power to make guidelines or a statutory instrument for furtherance of the objectives of the Principal Act. So, Chair, the reason why I called our attention to Section 146 is the uniqueness of the offences created under Section 145. That, number one, those are offences of a general nature. That's why the general penalty clause under Section 147 applies. But even better, Chair, 146 provides that without prejudice to the rights of any person to bring proceedings in respect of an offence under this Act, and subject to 157 of the Constitution, the authority, the regulatory board, the county government executive, or a licensee may institute and maintain criminal proceedings in any court against any person accused of an offence under this Act or under any regulations or under regulations made under this Act.